So what I've done here is Schminke Yellow Ochre, Winsor & Newton Rose de Ray, and Rembrandt Burnt Sienna. I have not played with this color combo at all. I didn't know what I would get. Kind of could sort of imagine the color mixes that would come out or guess them, but I didn't know exactly. So these are the 3 colors I've used. And then of course for the secondaries I just mixed the colors and got the colors in between. So you can see that these are lovely colors here, and like I said, if you wanted to go for a darker skin color, you could, you know, opt for this color for instance, or this color. So I'm pointing out secondaries, and the reason I say secondary is because if you pick this color, which is burnt sienna, it's the primary color, we won't be able to play in this way unless you want to add any of the other color and see how they would mix. You can do that, but basically the way I am doing this is I look at the secondary mixes that came out and I'm thinking, which color would I like to use in my illustration, or which color do I find the most interesting, and I would like to explore the colors in between and have more shades, because here of course we've got 3 levels. We've got the darkest, i.e. the density of the pigment versus water, so there's the least water in here and more pigment. Then we get to the middle ground, which is sort of mixed, halfway water, halfway pigment, and then more water, less pigment for the very lightest color. So we have a nice gradient of color, but we're not seeing the diversity of the mixes that we could get by mixing the yellow ochre and rose de ray. So I then pull out that color that I pick for the most interest, and let me just zoom you in a little. And then what I start doing is I put the top color here, which doesn't matter which color you go for. So in this case it's rose de ray and burnt sienna. It could be upside down, it really doesn't matter. And then I mix in a little bowl. I mix mostly rose de ray and a little touch of burnt sienna, and that's the color I get here. So you can see it's a variety of lovely peaches. Then I add a little bit more of burnt sienna and I get to this middle color. So in reality, that should be somewhere in between this and this, so equal measures of both colors. And then we move to more burnt sienna. Oh, why did I write burnt sienna? This is wrong. This is yellow ochre. Yes, I've done this wrong. So this is yellow ochre. Let me just correct it quickly. Okay, so yellow ochre, of course it's yellow ochre. I don't know why I thought it's burnt sienna when I was writing it down. So yeah, once you add more of the yellow ochre, you get to this color. So at this end we have more of yellow ochre, at this end we have more of rose de ray. So this is how it works, and you can see I got a lovely variety here. And looking at it, I can not only create skin tones, but within it I can create also blush colors, and I can create darker colors around the eyes and the shadowy colors. So you can see, taking this now to the illustration, I've just stamped out the face, the eyes and the lips here, leaving the eyes and the lips blank, just concentrating on the colors that I have mixed here. You can see the variety that we get. We get darker colors here, we get lighter colors, we get pinkier colors, more yellowy colors in areas. So that was quite helpful to create by using something like this, because you have a reference point. You kind of look around and you think, okay, I think I'd like my skin tone to be around here majority of the times, but then I want to add a little bit of yellow maybe around the eyes, and then I want to add a bit more of the rose de ray to get to this color here, and use it around the temple areas, maybe to shadow like, you know, ears and all of that. And then I could even go straight into rose de ray and just dab a little bit into the cheek area to bring the blush out. So that's how I treat this, and I use both stamp sets to kind of have this flow of work, and it really becomes quite interesting because before I get here, there's actually a fun element of mixing colors and kind of, you know, do your sort of research if you wish, and discover some color mixes before you start adding them. And it's always so much more fun to mix your own mixes rather than just use something from the tube, which convenience colors are amazing. I love using them as well, especially if you find your perfect color. But when you're doing work like this, you want there to be organic mixes, and I find that they're best achieved by mixing colors. I wouldn't mix too many colors at once, but you know, 2 colors and then just play around within that range is a good start. So then what I have done here is I just simply on top of it used a sketching pen. So where is it now? The one I like using is the Platinum Carbon ink. It is water soluble, and you can actually draw something out and then go over it with watercolor and it won't move. Here I decided not to do the drawing lines like I've done. Let's show you this one again. So like here, for instance, I've done all the drawing lines. It looks a bit crisper, but here I decided to leave the face without doing those drawing lines, and basically that's what it is. Final thing I'd like to say is I have recently discovered these little babies here, which are the Holbein acrylic gouache, and they are amazing for lips and like accessories and things like that because they're super matte. And if you like that matte lip look at that. It's just the mattest of the matte, and it kind of pops really nicely, just little dabs of it. You can also create hair. I'll just try to find an example. So here are my other illustrations, but just to show you that you can use them as these paints are great for dry brushing. So you could create dress elements with it. You could paint the skin and the face with it, and then just go over it with your pencils. So you could apply this technique to the stamp sets as well if you wanted that more matte look, and you had a bit more time on your hands. But if you prefer watercolors, then this probably would be a good start. So that is basically it, and here is the finished girl. Obviously without the body, just did the face here because I wanted to show you how I take the color mixing. You could do the same thing for her outfit. You could mix different colors, and to have a coherent color situation going on for her outfit, you could do exactly the same with totally different colors and just find colors that are very complementing. And they will be, because when I say complementing, when you mix 2 colors together, you get really lovely colors in between because they are already mixed with one another. There is nothing else that's introduced new to them. So if you like the color mix, you will love the colors in between, and you can just go within that range and make it nice and simple for yourself. So that's that. Okay, so what else? Let's now look at the color theory, which is this one. And here I've shown this before, but I'll show it again just in case you're watching this new. Here is what you can do with the color wheels. Basically, you can take traditional yellow, red and blue, but you can experiment with different tones of those colors and create completely different secondary colors and mixes. And it's so much fun to just go through all of your colors and just see what you can create. But like I said, you can also totally deviate from that thinking pattern and just go into your own colors and pick something crazy, like, I don't know, some bright pink and some burnt sienna and whatever else you can think of, and use those 3 colors and see what you can get. Also, sometimes it's fun to mix more kind of either granulating or pigment separating colors, as well as some opaque colors, so you'll get a really lovely mix that you might not expect. And here we have the large stamp set, which the stamping pad, which I showed you for blending colors together. So I quite like wetting this area and then letting one color kind of flow into the water, and then another color from the other end, and kind of see what they create here. Then of course here are the 5 colors that we can create a beautiful gradient. Now what I've done here actually is I have played around with the colors that I really liked here. So again, from mixing the colors, I realized that this color was the most of interest to me. So then I've taken the geranium red and the cobalt turquoise, put them on each end, and saw what I got in between, because this is a lovely color, but you can get so many different varieties of it. Then what I've done is I looked at my colored pencils and found matching colors that I could then mix and see where I can create similar colors with my colored pencils if I wanted to introduce that, because lately that's what I really have enjoyed, is the combination of watercolors and colored pencils. Then here I just done some mixing and again blending of colored pencils, adding the pink white from Caran d'Ache to a variety of different colors on top, just to see what colors it would pull out. Same thing I've done with the Derwent, what I call Derwent Light Fast, and basically these are the pale colors, just to see if they do a similar thing that the pink white does. And kind of, but I mean there is this light aqua that sort of does a similar thing here to the Caran d'Ache pink white, but otherwise I didn't notice that much of a change. Here of course, as I mentioned before, St. Petersburg White Night colors, and I compared them. So this on top row is the White Nights, and then at the bottom row is the Romances Mal, and just to see how similar they are, some of the colors are identical. And then I also tried to also find matching schminke colors here, so I did that. Another thing you can do, like I said, you can actually stamp 2 of those 5 sections together to have a more variety, and you can do what we talked about just now, where you create more color mixes in between the 2 colors, but you can also start adding more water and see how much lighter you can get, and that way you can get a lovely tan, you know, swatches of the same 2 colors, but just have lovely mixes. Here is that big stamp that we used here, just stamped next to each other. Now I would advise, for a lovely look, just to stamp them almost next to each other, but not overlapping. I find that the look becomes a lot more interesting and more sketchier if you leave a little gap between the sections. But you can also overstamp if you prefer. Just in my opinion, it looks better this way. Okay, so same thing here. Again, just a larger version of that. Or you can add as many as you want, or you know, make as little as you want. Also, you can obviously change the rotation of it. It can be horizontal or portrait. And then basically this is what I have played with here with my own handmade watercolors as well, and I just love the play of it. On those days when I want to do something but I feel uninspired or just tired, it's been a long day, or whichever way, you know, it's just so much fun to sit down and explore your colors. I think for years when I started doing watercolors, I didn't think about that much at all. I just would sort of be pulled towards convenience colors. You know, I wasn't keen on mixing. It was such a safe ground to just go to that color that comes from the tube or comes from a half pan ready mixed, and it's always the same, and I don't need to think about anything. But there is a beauty in imperfection, a beauty in slightly more of that color, slightly less of this color, but slightly more of the red, slightly less of the blue, and how many varieties you can get. You will never ever mix exactly the same color. In fact, here on the face, you probably won't be able to see it now, but basically I tried to mix exactly the same, do exactly the same color mixes and brush marks and everything, but it didn't come out identical. It never can, because that's the beauty of watercolor. And yeah, so I think enough talking. Just as a quick update, if you are interested in the color theory or moving doll, there are still a few of these stamping acrylic blocks available left in my shop, and it fits quite well with this. So it won't be perfect, it won't be sitting inside, it comes out slightly, but where the stamping line is, it will be inside the acrylic block, and all of them fit nicely as well. So that's that. There is a smaller one if you fancy for smaller details. I always like to have two on the go, because with the smaller details it's easier to hold it like that and then just kind of stamp it wherever you need. And then bigger parts, I love to use this one. And what else? For mixing, I used this little handmade by me set. So it's a brush rest and a little tray here. So these are also available on my Etsy Alyona Creates. And there is also a bunch of other clear stamps available and ephemera of my illustrations. So if you fancy my girls, there is two actually. There's a floral and there is the faces ephemera sets. And there is some stencils, so yeah, have a look around if you're interested for any other products. But basically that is it for today. My throat is completely dry, I need a glass of water. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you soon.